It's a blast from the past. In the top left is the red Protoss. He is Trap. And in the bottom right is the blue Zerg. We do have soO. So Trap's been back for a little bit. He's been playing in some of the Open Cups as well. And he's gotten some decent results. Lots of people very excited for this, but I'm waiting apprehensively. I want to see it with my own eyes. I want to see what he looks like coming back into StarCraft 2 after his military service. soO kind of felt like he came back slowly, but then did just have a great GSL group, so still can pack a punch as far as the mid-game goes. That's certainly what he's very well known for, and for being a fan of the roaches. One at a time. So soO has been doing all right, as I lose my train of thought. But he's also been back for quite some time at this point. Trap is pretty much freshly out of the military. Now, he probably has had chances to practice. Some of the players, they come back and they talk about taking their vacation breaks and playing a lot of StarCraft 2. People will, be real stalkers, and they will basically be paying attention to see who logs in, because they get like a 2-week break every now and again, and you can see them log on. I have done that. I am a mega nerd who definitely stalked TY, I think? Yeah. I think I remember seeing TY pop up in my friends list again on StarCraft 2 when he was starting to come back from military, and I felt so privileged. Of course, I had him as a friend back when you didn't need to be accepted as a friend. There was a time when you could just add people to friends list just to stalk them. Now they have to accept it. But, anyhow. So Trap's back, and Trap is actually very important for the Protoss race. I mean, Hero was also important, but with Hero not getting consistent top results, the Protosses are still left a little bit sad. Hero doesn't get the consistent top results. MaxPack doesn't go to the offline tournaments. Woe is me. Protoss is hard. Yeah. No, but seriously, they're lacking a little bit as far as the representation later a tournament goes. Trap was one of the most consistent finalist placers of the 2020s, I guess. Like, obviously, he retired, or he went to the military, sorry, in 2022, 3-ish, yeah, late 2022, I guess. So, it's been a couple of years, but 2020, 2021, I mean, he was all the rage, and it kind of sucks that was during the COVID time, in which a lot of people, and I, totally accept that, I don't think they're wrong, but a lot of people don't necessarily think of it as the most competitive era, because everything was online, and it also wasn't very prestigious as well. There's a lot of less hubbub. When you're just online and you're pretending that you're at a studio, but the perspective is weird and your camera looks funky and all that good stuff. Yeah. But Trap was dominating in that era. And so when people talk about the last time a Protoss won X tournament over, this much prize pool, or considered this prestigious or major or whatever, they're talking about the last time being when Trap was in charge. So there's a lot of eyes on this guy to lead the Protoss race. Starting off with the basics right now, as Trap goes for a Stargate opener. 2 Adepts been trying to go for some harassment, so far unsuccessful. And then a second Oracle as well, now a Nexus on the way too. So soO is also doing normal stuff, trying to stop these Oracles from doing maximum amount of damage. Ooh, not the best micro right there. Missed an opportunity on at least one of those drones. I mean, the Oracle kind of was sliding the wrong direction when it looked around, and a little bit of that is maybe luck, but yeah, 2 as long as the Oracle lives, right? It's something. And the Oracle did live, albeit very barely. It's down to 7 health. Ling see an opportunity. The Oracle just flew right on past him, and now that Stalker is in danger. It's about half health. We'll hold the line. Good for you, Stalker. Good for you. 2 Adepts still doing some damage in the natural at this point, actually. There we go. Making sure they're all synced up. That is 3 drones killed. 1 Adept will enter into the main base and also get some scouting. You actually might even be able to see what literally pops out of these eggs. There's a couple more Lings. I'm not going to see more drones. It's a little bit of a bummer, but these Oracles are keeping tabs on the front line. So as long as there's not just a big ball of roaches waiting and chilling for the F2A move, then probably all right. Probably. Third Nexus is finished for Trap, and we do have the probe production going smoothly. Twilight Council and Forge now finishing. See if he adds on Charge or Blink. Decent amount of gateways. Actually going to be at 6 prior to any actual production. Huh. This feels like the Twilight Council should have been faster. Should have been paying closer attention. 6 drones are killed, and the Oracles are still alive. My goodness, that is a combination of... Oh, okay, that one Oracle finally died. All right, Justice for soO. There's also the Adepts adding in some damage right there. Oh, one last drone to odd it out to 11. Nicely done. 11 drones. 17 in total. The Oracle loss was desperately needed, I think, for soO's just mentality, right? Like, this has not been the greatest game from him. Nothing seems to be going his way the way that he hopes it will, which is perfectly. It's all imperfect. And he's trying to add on a Spire while being under the watchful eye of some very active Oracles. I mean, they're getting damage, but they're also getting scouting. Sometimes that puts them in very perilous situations when they try and scout all the way back into this corner, but they are trying. They are getting there. Question is, will they end up going behind the main mineral line? There's absolutely a path to doing that. If that was your sole purpose, was to scout this corner of the map. A Trap doesn't know where he's supposed to be scouting or what he's supposed to be scouting, right? He's trying to stay active while he's doing it. It was Blink, by the way. That is about 65% done. +1 attacks almost also done. 3 more gateways for a total of 9. So we are getting some serious aggression going here. No quick 4th base, or certainly not one that's going to be heavily saturated. soO has some army, but a lot of resources tied up in replacing those drones and then trying to get to a Spire. So 200 in that Spire alone, plus the amount of money that you would be saving up so you can bust out 6 or 7 all at once. Now having to be used on just straight up army. You can see soO is hesitant to use all of his larva, all of his minerals, all of his supply on anything but those mutas. Finally, there we go. 7 mutas are on the way. And soO, it's not so much that he's holding the Stalkers off, as Trap wasn't really serious about the push yet. There we go. There it is, the Warp Prism. That's, the other half of the Stalker Ball has arrived, and when you add all of that together, soO's little measly even supply armies is fucking terrible, actually. He doesn't even have an upgrade. He barely had Roach Speed in time. This is a slaughter. This was a seriously one-sided game. Trap just did not let soO breathe. And that is a damn good sign for all the Trap and general Protoss fans out there. This was a very clean game from Trap. I do think that soO generally errs on the kind of game where it's not pretty on his side, but he has the same kind of hammer-wielding effect that Dark does, where you're like, well, that guy got supply blocked, and then he didn't have larva, and then he didn't have the drones, and now he's hitting us 50 seconds late, and somehow it still hits like a truck. I think soO can do that, but he was clearly not anywhere close. He was not even winding up with a hammer. He was looking at it and deciding if he should pick it up, and then Trap just fucking demolished him. All right, that's the only thing that could have improved, and even then maybe it was an improvement. I'm totally wrong. Probably. Let's be real. Trap is clearly back in the groove, and even if he doesn't play StarCraft 2 for another 2 decades, pretty sure he could beat me if he came back. Top left of Oceanborn, it is Trap. Bottom right, it is soO. Imagine what the meta would be in 2 decades, though. Maybe it's like drone rushes. I've now been perfected and is the only strategy that works. And he doesn't know that. Okay, then maybe I would win, actually. There's got to be a time in the future in which all strategies have been exhausted and perfected, and it only boils down to 1 or 2 of them. Probe scout coming in, not eager to block the hatchery. Actually more like a little vacay for the probe, honestly. If it's not blocking the hatchery, it clearly was not in a hurry. That is a chill probe right there, sipping Mai Tais. Now I might try hard on the minerals, though, to be fair. It's the 6-day work vacation where you try to fit every piece of work in a single day so you can just take a regular vacation the rest of the time, right? Yeah, you try hard, probe. You try hard. You try hard. It's actually being beat, I think. I mean, what is a win or loss in these little mineral battles? But I would say a loss is when the defender, so the drones here, actually bounce all the way over to another mineral line. So far, so good. soO's anti-micro is pretty good. Ooh, 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 ooh. Hit it, hit, hit. Hit it, hit it, hit it. Alright, soO's micro is pretty good. Not much else going on for particularly the Zerg player, I would say, because they're literally waiting for 2 buildings to finish. But then we have the Protoss side of things, and Protoss, I think, does have to be a little more active in that particular time. Saturating the gas, getting the probe over to build whatever unit or structure you're going to build. Yeah, I'd say so. But then you're back to both of them trying to micro, right? Trying to macro. Probe is wanting to see if it's the 3rd hatch. They could have just stayed there, all sneaky sneak. Would have been great. Gets found out immediately. We'll probably survive, though. And it is a Stargate, so pretty basic stuff once again from Trap. We'll see if he changes things up as far as the timings or the amount of buildings that he gets. I'm kind of expecting Twilight Council to blink again. It was just so powerful. Just absolutely bodied soO, who was going for a strategy that might have been a little less than ideal, but just in general was having a tough time dealing with Trap's relentless aggression. One too many drones killed, methinks. Gotta improve on that one. And this Adept gets a pretty freaking thorough scout. All the way in the main, escapes down the 3rd. Away from the creep spread. Nicely done. Oracle's gonna get that follow-up scouts, checking out the drone counts. And obviously, if there's any army running around, maybe the gas count as well. And a second Oracle, no, that's the first one. Second Oracle is going to happen immediately. All right, so it's so far the same exact build as last time. Not variety is the spice of life. Mundaneness, boringness. Just kidding. This isn't a remark on Trap. This is a remark on general PvZ, more so. Trap was very impressive with his micro last game. Okay, well, not this time. I had no idea Lings were waiting right there. You could say a lucky grab from soO, but then that is a pretty obvious point for which the Adepts would usually shade, I guess. Right from that 3rd base they're protecting. So that's a nice pickup. That was a full surround on both of them. Very, very efficient. Not a single Ling was killed. Oracle so far not doing much damage. Good saves on the drones so far. Trap does out of Twilight Council really fast this time, so I said I was going to pay attention to that more so, and this is, you know, as fast as he could have gotten it, you know, resources were just barely enough. A little awkward, as I think he was shy of the resources to warp in a 2nd unit there. Or, no, maybe not. Maybe the 1st Adept died, and the 3rd one. 4th one died as well, but the point is, needs that Oracle to help out too. 3rd Nexus is clearly going to finish, but you don't want it to snowball. You don't want the Oracles to have to come back home. They deal with it. The pylon gets killed, and then suddenly you have no shield battery, and they're actually going for like a roach attack. Oh, that's awkward. It's not what's happening, but you know that is awkward if it ever does. Blink Forge is here. +1 will start. Yep, as soon as you have the resources. It's still pretty fast though. Still pretty fast. We're only 2 Oracles, not 3. Or if the 3rd one does pop out, it's with the next 150 gas. Which I actually wouldn't be too surprising. The Oracles do help to cover the Stalkers and, you know, vice versa, and creep spread and all that good stuff. So, you know, it can happen. Doesn't seem to be the plan here. Trap getting 4 more gateways, so a total of 6. And even though he doesn't have a Warp Prism or proxy gates, he can still provide a little bit of that aggression on the map. But this is a little awkward. Stalker once again getting nibbled at, just like last game. Gonna survive to tell the tale. Lincoln +1 on the way. Robo not here to provide that Warp Prism. Adepts do seem to be setting up for a side distraction, as maybe the Stalker count gets built up here. No, Templar Archives, actually. Alright, the Oracle swoop into the natural. Kind of denied, though. 2 drones only killed. Oracle barely surviving yet again. Did it get a sight on that Hydralist end? Yes, it did. Hopefully he clicked on that. So he knows that Hydras are the play here, not a Spire. Which created a lot of awkwardness in the last game. And, well, not just going to be a huge Ling Roach Ravager attack either. At least all the resources are put into that. In fact, very much so, saving up the resources to build as many Hydras as possible all at once. Woo, that was almost okay. Almost let the Lings on through there, didn't he? I do like that soO is trying to continually jab at that natural. It does seem like it's so close to being the weak side. He's going to get it one day. You know, if he's going to be this insistent, a shield battery can really go a long way for peace of mind. Stalker does die, but Zealot was there with the backup Zealot as well. Lings will get on top of that third base. Not to do any damage, but they do scout that High Templars are there, not forming immediately into Archons. That gives you a big ol' hint that they are, in fact, waiting for that Storm upgrade, which is on the way. So really quickly into Storm, yet after a Blink opener. I mean, it's a little weirder. We kind of go along, I guess, certain paths, but, you know, maybe you own a Stalker Colossus. Clearly not what he was intending to do here today. You can go into charge that Archon. Clearly an option. You can go into Storm. I guess the surprise there would just be how significantly late a Robo is. No War Prism, no Observer, no Immortals. Not for this particular stretch of the game anyway. He might actually build up an Immortal count as we go on. soO is clearly thinking about getting into Lurkers. And while Immortals aren't the end-all be-all response to Lurkers, they're usually a pretty important piece of the puzzle. As long as their Hardened Shield is up for the fight, and they get to actually jump on top of the Lurkers, they're pretty useful. So I think we're going to be seeing that count grow, but right now, we got a lot of Storms, and that is going to cover Trap in a pretty significant way. He is down 50 supply after all, but it's PvZ. What else is new? Never got onto the map with that Stalker aggression, was playing entirely defensive, getting the fourth base up, guarding his High Templars, so the creep spread did get a little crazy. Definitely need to clean that up at least a little bit. Without Banelings, there's a little less of a fear of being jumped upon. Clearly, the emphasis is not on Lings either, so again, a little less fear about being jumped and surrounded. This is more of a stand-up fight-to-fight, I suppose, opposed to a burst situation. And, I mean, honestly, I'd say that I am heavily biased to thinking that a volatile Baneling playstyle can just devastate, you know, in the blink of an eye. Roach Hydra is, like, a little more straight up. Trap can kind of read into whether or not he has the right amount of army, especially if his Storm's ready to go. 2 Storms almost in the heart of the army. The rest of the army's being taken care of, or at least trying to. High Templars found lagging a little bit. Good cover from the Archon. Only loses one of those High Templars. Is safely holding that fourth base. Didn't let the other army even get close to the third of the natural, and so far, so good. Excellent hold on 2 different locations while building that Immortal count, by the way, now with 2 Robos. That Robo count's actually going to get built up really quickly. Trap playing a magnificent game. You know, and I was kind of low-key saying that was just not intimidating a push. But that is also a lot because Trap got into the position that he did, of course. Yeah, I'd always be a little more biased towards the Ling Baneling, I suppose. It's just that fear of cracklings later on, that fear of having to surround, that fear of not paying attention somewhere and the Banelings just roly-poly on in. Obviously, Roaches can also surprise if you don't have any map vision, but just not the same. Changeling is going to reveal the army. It is posturing. If it saw the pylon, it might know that it's posturing for a 5th. Well, it sees the trope now. So that is clearly a 5th that's going to go down as the army maybe moves out. There is no War Prism, so we would say no. soO has to be kind of wary about the attacking. If he does not attack well and is counter-attacked, it could be quite scary. But he's obviously in his zone. He's got his 10 Lurkers. They do have the range on their spines. Not all of them involved in this fight, however. Immortals do have their Hardened Shields popped, but they're not even fighting the Lurkers very much anymore. One of them goes down. Other one's still alive, and it looks like because the Lurkers are still here, like, yeah, half of them weren't in the fight, but there are still 10 Lurkers on the field. I think giving up on that base for now is a very wise call. You know, it's great that they weren't there to pummel away and maybe totally decimate the army, but they also weren't being touched, weren't being killed, and it's going to be easier for soO to remax on those non-Lurker units. It's going to be much faster and obviously much cheaper. We will have Adrenal Glands on the field, but to call them Cracklings still feels like kind of a weird name for them. They're Cracklings with 0/0. Like, I guess. So yeah, they're just like not nearly as intimidating. But they are a good mineral dump, and they are still very obnoxious as far as the harassing units, the ones that go on a Nidus Worm, the ones that go for run-bys on your base, you know. I don't think we have a Baneling nest at all. And I do like when that's added on the longer the game goes, just because Baneling run-bys I think can still be effective. Maybe that is far less effective now that they don't one-shot the probe, so... maybe actually not worth it nowadays. This is a very bold move out from the Protoss player. I don't think Trap knew exactly where the army was. I mean, if he does, he is playing with some serious fire. Lurkers coming down on the left side as there was defenses in the natural, but then we have a surround on a surround. Lurker's pretty good though, bro. Yeah, the rest of Trap's army was coming in for their own kind of surprise addition to the incoming fight, but as far as the surprise additions, I don't know. soO had 3 different angles which he was coming, from the backside, from the left side, and from his reinforcements in the natural. That could have gone way worse for Trap, though. I mean, holy shit. The fact that he gets out of here with actually a really good supply in this matchup at this point in time actually means that was completely okay. But it looked so incredibly dangerous. Holy shit. And he also had that move out when he had his resources dumped into carriers and upgrades, which is extra dangerous, because 1 carrier is not going to help you very much. He did manage to save Immortals, some Archons, and he does still have the possibility of reinforcing on the ground, something that he is doing. Zealot's actually coming in for maybe more of a run-by. Either they were going to be for a run-by, or he predicted this incoming attack. Either way, slicing and dicing against 0-0 Lings. They're probably actually doing a pretty neat job. They have Adrenal glands. Lurker is obviously the much bigger deal. 15 of them with the range and the speed burrow. That other 5th base is a goner. Now the question is, will the 4th base also be sacrificed? Yes, 100%. Trap. Oh my goodness. Sent his probes back and half of them die in the way. Whoops-a-daisy. We got ourselves a little bit of a base trade. Trap is going to lose both bases that actually have minerals to mine from. This is a really important note here. soO is going to have bases that mine off to the left side as Trap tries to go for more of the throat. But obviously, Trap can find the technology buildings, take away the possibilities of actually adding in more lurkers. He could find the common production rally and start to take really efficient trades, or he could recall as soon as the as soon as the army is sighted. Recall to the mothership, actually. I was wondering what was going on there. And it is just the additional carriers. He figures he can take the fight as there's not enough anti-air. Is he right about that? We're at 3-4 carriers, actually. All the interceptors... so far, so good. There's not enough Hydras, dude. There is not enough Hydras. Trap reading that in the midst of a base trade. I mean, I just would have chickened out, man. That would have been a recall back to a Nexus, for sure. 100% would have chickened out. Maybe he just keeps on going. By the way, never actually got very good carrier upgrades. So... these carriers actually, they kind of actually suck. But... they were there when not enough things shot up. Now things shoot up. Now Corruptors are out, taking down the carriers, taking down the mothership. It is now Trap's turn to have not enough anti-air as the Immortals do not shoot up. Carriers also continue rallying in with ground forces, means they will be sacrificed. But now it's the ground that really is the problem. Where are the rest of the ground forces from soO? He's trying to build 15 Hydras, but we're kind of on at least one of the common rally points of the main and the natural, so Hydra's getting taken down one at a time. Very inefficient. This is more efficient. soO actually has a rallied army over on his 5th base alongside some spine crawlers. Tries to pick up on an Immortal that was left a little alone, but storms are awfully scary to a Hydra-only army. No armor upgrades, by the way. Not that Storm is affected by them. But nonetheless, 2-3 for the Protoss. Only +3 missile for the Zerg. The Hydras are coming in from 2 different directions, and Storms are not available. Immortals not the best thing to have here, especially as the drones get pulled. Surprisingly effective against the Immortals, not so much against the Archon, but even the Archon's gonna get popped. And that last Immortal is looking to get gunned down. This drone is on a mission. Will he do it? No, he got killed by a High Templar shot. That's an embarrassing way to go. Good save on the Immortal, though. So that's sick. Oh, Corruptor is peeing on a Nexus. A very important Nexus indeed. Trap needs these minerals. His first 3 bases are entirely mined out. He's going to be long-distance mining with 63 probes. Oh, this game's not over yet. It does still favor Trap, I think. He's got such good technology is what I'm thinking of mostly. He's got the Storms. But soO has built up quite the good Zerg army. That's a decent number of Lurkers. They have a decent number of Hydras protecting them. And he has these Spine Crawlers that, yeah, of course they could be killed, but they are buying an annoying amount of time. Storms have to be used on the retreat, trying to take down the Lurkers while he can. And he is actually doing a pretty decent job, but he really needed one more Storm right there. Oh, One more storm, and so many of those Hydras would have been one-shot to a freaking High Templar. But that is going to be it. soO barely clings on. That was insanely close. I just got cacaoed. You know how many times I get cacaoed in my life? Not very much. Oh, it's an ad. Every so often, Cacao Talk likes to remind me that it's here. It's probably warning me my account's gonna get deactivated. All right, so we're tied up 1-1 in this best of 3. Winner, again, will go on to face Max Pax in a best of 5. In the bottom left, we do have Trap. And in the top right, it is soO. I thought Trap was going to win that. I guess with the carriers. Yeah, I think that's when I was like, you know, it was still really question marky because those corruptors are coming out. But I feel like I would finally give, you know, a definite higher advantage to Trap at that point. You know, it was 50-50 up until then. Then the carriers come in and they take advantage of that low Hydra count, and it's like, oh shit, okay, now Trap's like 60-70% gonna win this, right? But his carriers were dog shit. His carriers were 0-0. Pretty rare and arguably a mistake. You know, it's a forced error. They're busy. They didn't click on it. They're strapped for cash because of other things happening in the game. Okay, fine. But you can kind of argue it's a mistake to be adding on that many carriers. You know, 1 and then 2 more. He was going up to 3. And not sort of +1 with it. I would say generally that is it's the combination. It's the combo you got to hit generally when you're moving on as a Protoss. Whatever carrier count you can get, plus Silent score with that +1 attack. Boom. That is what you go and do. Goes hand in hand, so on and so forth. Now for Trap. When +1 carrier have made a big difference, maybe not. Because actually, the Hydra count was so low, like it wasn't a question of interceptor count at that point. You know, he did have all of the interceptors. He did have his carriers together, although his reinforcing carriers were not there. But anyway, so he had, what, 3 carriers with max amount of interceptors being tackled by the corruptors that soO had emergency built at the last second. Okay, maybe +1 flyer isn't the reason that the wins or loses, but it would have maybe killed 3 more corruptors, and then that Nexus doesn't die because 3 less corruptors are peeing on it. That is a direct correlation. All right. Still, I'd say at the end of the day, the fault was getting maybe a little overeager. Did see the opportunity for his carriers to win out versus the lack of anti-air. So much so that he started to rally his Stargates across, which lost him another 1 or 2 carriers, right? And there's no pretending that wouldn't have gone a long way in helping to defend back at home, everything tied together. That 5th Nexus might not have died. But it is what it is. soO holds on. I think that is a real testament to his... What's the word I'm looking for? Thinking is hard at night. It's a real testament to soO's ability to stay strong despite all of the terrible things that have happened in his life. You know, what's the word? He gets, you know, 6 second places in a row, and he comes back again, gets back up on that high horse. Yeah. That high horse. He's never been on a high horse. The universe mocks him after his 8th second place victory by putting him in a hotel room in room 222. Like, he's got a tough life, guys. But he's resilient! I got there. His resilience was definitely on display in that last game. But it kind of just, I still overall, maybe I'm just biased against soO. Maybe I secretly hate soO. Oh no, that's a revelation. I just kind of felt like Trap was playing still so smooth, it feels like. The last game was obviously a lot bumpier than the first one, but I still like the potential of what he was doing. I guess my bias also extends to kind of just the ideas of both armies there. Adepts are really trying to get some damage done, by the way. They were like, can't get the troops to work. They get those links. Not happening. Adept Oracle combination so far not netting Trap a lot of victories here. Only 1 link has died in this game. Twilight Council and Forge coming down with a 3rd Oracle as well. So a slight change up from the previous games. These are slight things, but they're still important to note. 4 Adepts actually confidently shading into a natural. It was maybe not the best shade. It did get into the mineral line, notoriously. Worst part for the Zerg to deal with. But the drones are pulled pretty quickly, and there were so many queens already there. The Oracles just doubled that kill count, though, at the 3rd base. So, okay, all right. You know what? That actually ended up being a masterful play. Never mind. Shut up, ZombieGrub. Jesus. Seriously, that actually ended up being amazing because the Adepts were a super successful distraction. The Queens were pulled away to help out against the Adept, which they did. But then they were entirely away from the 3rd base, and a single Spore Crawler was not enough to stop the Oracles from dealing 12 drones worth of damage. 5 probes have gone down. A little retaliation there. But still, soO lost more than he was hoping for. I'm going to lose a couple more, too, on a rally. They were rallying, still taking out the minerals. Now they don't know what to do with themselves. And Trap has taken advantage of that. Blinken +1 on the way. Robo coming down a lot faster. See, this would be the natural progression. Basically, that Robo timing was the abnormal progression in the last game. So it's not like you can't go Stalkers into High Templar. It's just usually a Robo there. And it is here this time around. This actually looks more like the first game of the series, in which we can have a Warp Prism following up a map control attack. You show, you know, 8 Stalkers, and the Zerg player's like, okay, that's a decent amount. All right, hold on, respect. Let me deal with this. And then they think they can because it's only 8 Stalkers, right? Boom! Another 8 Stalkers show up with a Warp Prism. You're dead, son. It's kind of what happened in the first game. This is going to happen here. Time's ticking ever closer to that moment. Warp Prism on the way. Blink +1. Gateways. Everything lining up here. Plenty of pylons as well. He is a little supply block. It's like, you know, kill it. He is waiting for warp in, so it's like arguable that's a supply block. But the point is, he now has plenty of pylons. He is ready to go. Is soO ready to defend? soO has lost so many drones. He spent a lot of his money replacing them, so he really should already be at 70 drones with a better army supply than what we see here. He should probably be more up to like 70 or 80, actually. But instead, he had to remake those drones. Stasis Trap creates a little bit of a force field as well, a little bit more of a choke for Trap Stalkers to work through. Another Stasis Trap behind this. Oracle's going to also help out with their Pulsar Beam. Roaches and Lings are on the way, but Trap has a really powerful position here. He's got so many gateways pumping out Stalkers with +1 attack versus 0/0 Ling Roach. It's not terribly uncommon for this stage in the game. It's just emphasizing how dangerous this is. soO needs pure numbers to handle this, and he's not quite there. He gets a little closer to the Warp Prism, which is going to cause Trap to really rethink how he's going to approach this. This is no longer a, I could maybe snowball this if I could really micro well. Excuse me. It's more like, okay, I can keep this location while macroing behind this, and that is what he's doing. soO probably going to pick up on this and continue investing into an army. Kind of sucks for him, though, because he did clearly miss that Roach speed. Yeah, no, that should have been started a while ago. I'm not crazy. Okay, mechanics maybe little slip here under all that pressure. Perhaps, maybe a little bit. 1200 in the bank almost, unless he's gonna bust out 6 infestors from this infestation pit. I don't think that's an intentional save. Gonna fix that very soon. More overlords are on the way. Then a big, well, potential. I mean, army. Well, it should be an army swell. While going into Hydras and Lurkers and a Hive, obviously. I mean, if he had been able to invest all that money at that point in which he deflected the attack, and his army was 30 above his opponent, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't at least try and pressure his opponent. But with having to wait to get maxed out because of the mechanical problem, and he's investing into a lot of stuff as well, but there was definitely a gap there. And that might have done a little bit more as far as the ebb and flow of this game. As it is, Trap doesn't get to win with his push, but it's not something that was all in. But you can get macro behind it. It's not the worst case scenario. What is maybe getting worse is the age-old PvZ dilemma. The Zerg player gets closer to Lurkers and closer to upgraded Lurkers. And the Protoss might be just stuck on, only Stalkers. This is getting really awkward. Disruptors were supposed to hold the line, and they have failed tremendously. Trap overestimating his ability to be out on the map. gonna lose all forms of map control. Oh, wait, no, hold on a second. Warp Prism down. Man, he's actually always got something else going. I mean, it's how you should play StarCraft, but the amount of times as a caster, you're just like, this is all bad. And then you check, and you're like, oh no, it is all bad. But Trap, every single time that I've checked, he's actually always got something else going. Now, this isn't going to cause a lot of economic damage and could even arguably be a waste of the Zealot resources there. That just did not seem like... That was so many Zealots and I didn't seem like it did a lot of damage. But regardless, it bought a lot of time. So can Trap afford to throw away 600 minerals easy peasy? Not really, but if the army goes all the way back to its main, maybe that's exactly what you had to do. One Oracle will get taken out. We're still on 2 Oracles, though, so plenty of Revelations and Stasis Traps. And we are on 4 bases as the Protoss player, so it's definitely not the end of the world, but after that particular battle, I would say it now is very scary leading into that late game. You know, if he didn't lose that battle... You know, arguably, he's still on the map, holding that same position, but then also investing further resources into the Stargate transition, just like the last game. Now, there might be a little more hesitation investing into that, especially if he also has to be worried about defending. He's trying to track the army, stay on the map, basically. Both players trying to stay on the map, trying to get to the lead if an engagement happens. One person in control, the other person defending. And Trap just wants to make sure that if he does end up only defending, he doesn't do it right up against a base, so there's not a lot of room to maneuver, and everything is on the line. The farther out he is, the more the lurkers will have to try and speed through disruptor shots, immortal hits, and storms. A big roach attack gets denied by an excellent stasis trap. Very consistent stasis traps. Could probably do even more, honestly, but I'm still impressed. Disruptors finally making an appearance, actually did something. They popped a lurker, and gonna get a second one as well. Where are the... There's an observer. Okay, yeah, the Immortals over on the right side do end up taking down 1 or 2 of those lurkers. Now on the front, however, not where they really want to be. Focus fire down by the Ravagers. One of them goes down. Second one goes down. Now that will cost soO actually a ton of units. He's not paying attention. Just bathed in that storm right there. 4 Ravagers left to die. Lurkers do hold the line, though. That's probably why soO was focusing on this base. He knew those lurkers would hold the line. So many roaches dedicated into the attack on the 4th base. Initially, it was like 10. It was a solid run by. But soO added way more, and Trap wasn't quite prepared for that. He is going to lose a lot of Stalkers, a decent amount of probes, and that is actually a pretty good trade of some really low resource, not as good roaches. Place those babies with the lurkers, with the hydras, with the spellcasters. Something that soO is actually capable of doing. 75 drones, going on to 5 bases soon. Actually isn't the most impressive economy, yet he has managed to bank almost, well, it was 2,000. Now he's combining everything together, trying to go for the defense here, as Trap thought he'd get right up the middle. There's not a lot of creep spread, and as far as vision goes, that ended up being lacking for a second there from soO. Almost paid the price, but returned home with enough lurkers to go ahead and force Trap away from all this technology and reinforcing. 6 lurkers will soon become 13. Both upgrades finish for them. Nope. It will be for the next attack. 15 seconds. There we go. Once again, only on the attack upgrades for the Zerg player, Adrenal Glands, but no other upgrades for the Lings. soO is on a 3-1 army. Disruptors trying to make an appearance. Don't even get to. Actually, not even one of them shot. Oh, soO jumps on top of the Protoss army. Hoping to do that, basically, have, like, not give them time to focus on the battle, which did work to an extent. They did take out the Disruptors, but then the non-lurker portion of soO's army did not hold up against the rest of the army, so he had to retreat back to the safety of these 6 lurkers, and that is a far cry from the 13. I just said he was going to go up to 13. Boom, that is when Trap actually moves in and gets a bunch of kills. But he probably should not have. soO needs to start getting some better engagements. He's burrowing the lurkers in the range of the Archons and Immortals. That is not what you want. Frankly, this is a very good anti-lurker army anyway, so you really needed that fodder on the front lines. You need the Blinding Clouds, the Roaches, the Hydras, the Queens even. A whole pile of Lings would have done something. And now it is very, very, very close, dangerously close. The Immortals without their shields up against Hydras. Hydra's actually going to win this one. This would be way different if it was only Roaches, but the Hydras and the Transfuses coming in on the Hydras. Ling's coming in to save the day. They got Cracklings. They don't have any other upgrades. Doesn't matter. Going to chip away on the High Templar, on the Immortal. The last one's barrier pops, but it still goes down. And that is the reinforcing Protoss army here to try and save the day, but it's not very microable. Range is going to be a huge issue if Trap continued to invest there. His Immortals and Archons would have constantly been chasing after Hydras on creep with range. That would have been less than ideal. So Trap no longer continuing with that battle. Still need to be really careful about how he is moving his army. I mean, I like that he's so emboldened, but I don't know if he really should be. Hydras are really good against this army. You can see the focus fire coming in here. The retreat is impossible. Generally, be retreating into the, maybe defenses of Zealots, coming in for the emergency hold. Maybe Storms would cover the Immortals' retreat. Not that time. Transfuses once again coming in, this time to save a hatchery in the natural. The Zealots now wasting all of their slicing on a hatchery that did not go down. Trap now in some serious trouble. He lost 2 battles, basically, and that one in the middle was so freaking close. But Immortals without their Hardened Shield against Queen Ling Hydra is actually one of the worst possible situations they'd ever be in. Taking a breath, but things are definitely not over yet. soO does have a good supply, but remember how PvZ works. You throw in a couple of storms, the Immortals getting friendly with the Lurkers again, and suddenly this supply reverses pretty freaking quickly. And a lucky find there from Trap on 2 Lurkers that were going to go harass the base, but hey, it's actually kind of a reveal there for soO. He was like, oh, he probably is trying to take the corner base at this time. Well, not even trying to take it. He is going to deny it, though, if it ever is attempted to be taken. Gold base in the middle, not even saturated here. Trap might have to forfeit it. As the Zerg army is now encroaching, no reason not to. soO's almost maxed out once more. He's got that gold base as well as another fresh base to the middle. Zealots in the main base are going to try and go for the Hydralisk Den. Okay, not a bad shot. However, it looks like Trap's army has lost track of a decent number of units here. Lurkers and Hydras going into Trap's 5th, I think it was. He is going to accept the base trade. This did not go well for him last game. Will it go better here? So many Immortals are involved. Observer and surveillance mode is not quite seeing those Lurkers, I think. One of the problems there. But the hatchery will go down. The drones will have to evacuate. 24 probes have gone down. The Nexus was killed. The recall was over to the gold base to ensure at least one of these Nexus will live, but it's a question, actually. Can it? The Zerg army's coming on the right side as well. Just kidding. It's only a couple of Hydras. It's not the most intimidating thing in the world, but only High Templars off to the left side is also something intimidating. Very, very weak High Templars turning into Archons. Now the Immortals finally on top of the Lurkers. And finally, Trap will take care of that army, but look at the supply. soO had that bank. He's remaxing on some low-quality Roaches. Although they do have +3 missiles, so... But still, they're only Roaches. If it was literally only Roaches, there is a chance here, but we still have a couple of Lurkers, 4 Lurkers, 5 Hydras. We don't have any Storms, which actually is the biggest bummer out of all of this. And no shield battery either. soO, yeah, he's gonna win this one. I'm a little surprised, honestly. But maybe Trap played with fire a bit too much. Maybe he overextended, maybe he positioned himself on the map when he didn't have the attention to look at it. Maybe he overstayed his welcome in what did look like he was a winning battle. I mean, I can't really blame Trap for standing there with those Immortals. Because his upgrades were also really good. They're at least 3-1. I think that one shield only finished recently. soO also actually ended up catching up on upgrades, though. So I'm not exactly sure what the upgrades were in that situation. But yeah, I can't really blame him. There were still so many Protoss units that looked nice up against those Hydras. But that's when you really just realize how bad Immortals are when they don't have Hardened Shield. And they're not against Roaches.